Welcome back to your latest industry recap. Aircraft grounding news. An airline potentially in a fair bit of trouble, and A350 orders expected to be cancelled. It is a bumper episode, so why not waste any time moving on to dialogue around Spirit Airlines, once more turning negative, with concerns emerging over the future of the US carrier. Spirit Airlines has now warned that its survival may not be guaranteed, with increasing pressures to raise the necessary cash to fundamentally move forward, and more importantly, satisfy current creditors. Revealed in the airline's latest shareholder report, the cloud above the carrier has been present for months, even when executives hinted that things were finally progressing to maybe a more stable direction. The filing published highlighted the worst-case scenario, which could see the airline collapse if essentially the cash in the bank is not out of a required level. In such a scenario, you'd see violations fall on the airline, which it would not be able to keep up with, plunging it into the great unknown. The following 12 months, therefore, for Spirit Airlines are of grave concern, and roadblocks that continue to mount up and feel almost impossible for the business to progress through and correct. Ultimately, talk of a possible shutdown as a worst-case scenario is not a fresh development. This has been a persistent topic across the last couple of years for this US carrier, one that it's struggling to escape. The latest talk of the future of Spirit Airlines also follows reporting in June of this year, which highlighted the challenging position the company found itself in concerning the development of its fleet. The US carrier is an all-Airbus operator, relying solely on the Airbus single-aisle program of the A320, but there are now fresh obstacles involving the acquisition of new jets and the transition towards the next generation. The airline confirms that the tariffs are subject to several factors that may necessitate response to mitigate the overall risk to the business. Costs are one thing that may be forced to increase. Spirit Airlines wants the imported new Airbus aircraft and the necessary parts to service the fleet, but this could have adverse effects on the business moving forward with the additional costs. For the US carrier, it can't afford to be placed in another spiraling situation, as the length taken to rebuild the business in the past have been colossal, and even with all of that, it still doesn't feel enough. Therefore, to address these concerns in that latest quarterly filing, the carrier said it may seek to postpone the delivery of specific aircraft which are currently scheduled for delivery, and in a worst-case scenario, cancel them. Therefore, your impact would extend onto future aircraft purchases, the availability of delivery slots being snapped up, and so much more. It's trying times ahead for Spirit Airlines. They'll be one to watch closely as the months unfold. Over to the next story that sits with the A350 backlog, which could be seeing yet another shift, with Air Mauritius exploring the future of its order book. The company, which already has 4 A350-900s to its name, is expecting to take delivery of several more units in the future, one scheduled very soon as it enters the critical production phase. However, Air Mauritius now believes that the requirement for these A350s is no longer present, citing that decisions such as the move to order additional A350s are part of a string of poor ones, and they've not been shy of admitting this over the last few years. Decisions that the new management says were led by poor management have come back to bite them, with financial performance and other issues not being up to standard. With 3 A350s expected to be handed over, Air Mauritius confirms that it is too late for one of these, as it's in production and will be delivered, but opportunities may exist for the remaining 2 units to be shifted, which are part of the order book. Speaking with local media, the airline's chairman of the board of directors said the room may be available to adjust the order configuration, with discussions now ongoing with plane maker Airbus, who are the producers of the wide-body plane in question. Instead, Air Mauritius would ideally move ahead with planes that are better suited to their operational reality now, that is, more single-aisle aircraft or long-haul planes which have a lower capacity point than the 350, and therefore key here, remain more versatile. Why switch? Well, Air Mauritius feels that moving away from the A350 would very much help its long-term vision for the development of the network, and the reality for them is there are major risks associated with taking delivery of these large planes. For example, adding the jets come with heavy expenses, and those expenses should come with a fundamental plan that allows for the welcoming of such an aircraft. Basically, you purchase a plane with the intention to use it on a certain route segment, or to retire another aircraft, and this plane acts as the replacement. But you see, when I talk about the poor decisions by management that is being highlighted by executives now, that is the A350. It did not come with that thought-out plan to have the jet benefit the network, and now it's actually being viewed as a deterrent. Current leadership at the business believe the focus should lie more on responding to market changes now and launching new routes, strengthening also regional services, and the A350 does not do that. In fact, Air Mauritius feels that if you take a look at its fleet now and the requirement for the A350 seen across Paris and London, this is about as far as it goes. It's limited to these cities, and the carrier does not believe that more are required. Other aircraft, yes, but not of the A350 kind. So with discussions ongoing, this is something that could take shape in the next few months or moving forward. Over to the final story, and that concerns a challenge with Biman Bangladesh Airlines, who have an active fleet of planes, but are really struggling to maintain this, and groundings are becoming a more common occurrence, and there's certainly some frustration from onlookers about the state the company finds itself in. See, in the last couple of weeks, technical issues have emerged and have forced planes to be parked up, with the result, the cancellation of flights and its customer base put in disarray. Flight schedules were labelled as significantly disrupted, with onward connectivity options also not occurring, resulting in costs that have now ballooned. That availability stemmed from a shortage of planes, where according to the public relations manager who spoke with Bulgar Tribune, a flight in Rome was grounded towards the early to mid part of August. The aircraft under repair and therefore was unable to be utilised on the network. This A787 Dreamliner with 262 passengers stuck after a problem arose with the flap on the aircraft. With the customers impacted, the airline said it was putting those affected up in a hotel as they found themselves with very limited options. But for Biman Bangladesh, the latest incident and the knock-on effect felt right across the business is not a first, and that's the problem. The Daily Star is pointing towards several other incidents which have emerged in April alone, which have also involved other aircraft. They've not just been limited to the Dreamliner, and have seen factors such as vibration in the engines or excessive rises in cabin temperatures force aircraft that were meant to operate a routine flight head back to their point of origin. Incidents are definitely common across the industry. Not every single one needs to be reported, and not all of them are severe, but if they are occurring at such a frequency and so close together, they're obviously going to raise alarm bells, and in this case, you're seeing Biman Bangladesh appear in headlines more for negative reasons and the impact that is on its workforce. Now, officials argue across shared media channels that there's fatigue and staff shortages, which are leading to increased pressures on the current business to maintain the active fleet. Yes, you could look at it as in a very valid reason, but irrespective of the shortages, many would say that the position the workers are now put in is unacceptable. You're looking at a very high pressure space where safety is paramount, so fatigue just can't creep into practices such as maintenance. Because you don't need me to tell you twice of what could potentially lead if there are discrepancies in key practices. That'll conclude today's industry recap. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow.